Welcome to the Apex eSports League Ferrari Series 488 Challenge. Tonight is round 2 for Project Cars 2 on the PS4. We are headed off to Donington Park GP. So we'll be seeing a bit of difference in weather tonight as well. So we'll cover what tonight's sessions will be. We'll be having 2 races. We're about to head off for the practice session for 15 minutes. Weather is heavy cloud. Then we'll have a 15-minute qualifier with weather heavy cloud. Then the first race is 12 laps, weather heavy cloud to overcast. There's no mandatory pit. Then the second session we'll have a 7-minute break in between. Then head into a 15-minute qualifier with weather overcast. And then the main race tonight is 25 laps with weather light rain, medium cloud to clear. And there is a mandatory pit, so a wet start to that race should make things quite interesting for the drivers. After our first round, we saw Gallon 350 take the lead with 124 points, followed closely behind by Bertie 1035 for 105 and Weaven 777 with 102. So last week's race we were at Willow Springs International Raceway, and for the sprint race we saw Weaven 777 qualify in second position and take the race win. We had Gallon 350 qualify in pole and set the fastest lap for that race. Then for the main race we had Gallon take a clean sweep, which was taking pole and taking the race win for the main race and also securing the fastest lap as well. So have a quick look over at the track. So headed off to the United Kingdom for Donington Park GP. Track length is 4.02 kilometres. There's 12 turns on the track. There's some very fast straights, a couple of good hairpins and some very fast sweeping bends. So there'll be a lot of passing action, especially with these Ferrari Series 488 Challenge cars. Very quick and nimble cars to get around for this track. And we're now into the pits. We do have a few new drivers to the field as well. We'll check out what their cars are. Someone is already heading out onto the track. So Gallon 350 in the yellow Ferrari, who is leading the series currently. Now, new drivers to Apex eSports League. So debuting tonight is Vert Wheeler 07. For the rest of the field we have Corby 387, who's a regular driver in our series. Same with Mersey Blue. Bertie 1035. Psychogency as well. Oh, and some quick driving by Psycho in the pits. You have to be careful. You can actually carry through a pit penalty for speeding in the pits in practice. When you do it in single, it doesn't actually penalise, you can just go for it. But we have seen Psycho cop a grid place penalty from the practice session in the past. And we have Mr. D-Train Barbado. He joined us in the opening round for the V8 Supercars Bathurst Challenge just Tuesday gone. He's also joined across with us for the Ferrari series. And then also new, debuting with Apex eSports League tonight is I'm the 45110. And then new to the series for the Ferraris is 0143, and if you've been joining us, you would have caught him driving the V8 Supercars around Bathurst just Tuesday gone as well. We've got someone doing some donuts back there. Not sure who that is. I think that was Vert Wheeler. And some later joiners. We have Weaven 777, who is unable to make the race tonight. So he is coming third in the championship as well with 102 points. So him missing out on tonight's round will see him drop a few spots in the championship. And over to Gallon, our current leader. And we've had Skiddy join in late. It's good to see him make it aboard. We're also missing Angry Old Fella. May have him join later in the session as well, hopefully. They will be having Bertie 1035 and Gallen contending for points quite strongly out of tonight's races. This will be an opportunity for them to get a little bit more ahead of Weaven 777. That will also, with Weaven being away, will also allow the rest of the field, who is pretty close behind, with Mersey Blue sitting at 80 points. Could be an opportunity for him to move up into the top 3 potentially. And first laps coming through now for 143, setting a 134. Potentially expecting some 130s to 132s. Current game session time is 9 o'clock in the morning. And with that weather of heavy cloud, as you can see, it is rather dark over Donington Park. Low track temperatures will be applying. It is custom setups for the cars, so they can opt for the soft compound. They can't actually select a hard compound in these cars, but there is an all-weather tyre they can use. And Gallens has come through with quickest lap with a 132 for his opening lap. In pre-race discussions, he was mentioning he was setting 132s. And did see some very quick times coming out of Gallen last round at Willow Springs. This track is a little bit more technical with those hairpins. So some slightly different driving styles could potentially see a bit of change within the field. And looks like we've got Psycho stopped on the side of the track as Gallen goes past. He's just done a track reset by the look of things too. Looks like he's having some technical issues. Hasn't got any damage. Pretty tight times so far for our top 5 drivers so far. But Wheeler having a little bit of a spin at that hairpin. It is a very tight hairpin coming onto pit straight. And Quabby's just dropped out, same with Skiddy. Quite interesting saying that Corby is dropping in and out, however his car is driving around. Skiddy has disconnected. But Wheeler just coming out just in behind Corby. He's entered off into the kitty litter just there with Psycho. Oh, Psycho almost making contact with him, trying to get around him. And Mr. D-Train has come in with a 132 also, only 0.244 quicker off Gallen's time. It is a very nice time for opening laps. And we've got, and here he's also beating his current best time. Should see him possibly break into the 131 mark here. And then also a 0 in the 132s. And the 45110 setting a 134. Colby also in the 134s. He's doing rather well at the moment. He's 0.6 of a second on his best at the moment. Might break into the 133 mark. But Wheeler's car looking a little bit beaten up, but that he has returned that car to the pits, so that's just being residual from that. Once they bring the cars back in, it doesn't always refresh. Okay, we've got Skitty just rejoined back in. Oh, we've had Psycho come in also with a 1:32. 1:32 seeming to be the time. So, quite on par. Not much of a difference, only just scraping in front. Although we've had D-Train better that time yet again. Just scraping back in over Psycho's time by 0.120 of a second. And Bertie now showing 6 seconds off his. Oh, he's just had cut that corner a little bit too much. The race feeds just advised his time's been validated. It shouldn't affect him for this lap, as it was far enough back. You can see on the map there where the arrow is. So there is the sharp left-hand bend coming onto a little back straight, followed by a sharp right-hand hairpin, and then followed by a sharp left-hand hairpin into pit straight. We've got Skitty in the red Ferrari. And here we go, we've had a 1:31 broken, set by a 0. 1:31.781, very quick time indeed. Going into the next session for the qualifying, game time will be then 10 o'clock. So seeing slightly increased temperatures, weather conditions will be the same of heavy cloud. We should start to see some quicker times set yet again. Definitely may see a 1:30. So we've just had Corby come in with a 1:31. Also Gallen just sneaking in again with a 1:31. The leaderboard is just constantly changing. These guys are doing rather well. Nice quick fly through that sweeping bend by Gallen. A little bit of slip around that corner. He's pushing that car quite hard. And if you're joining us for the stream, there is chat controls there. You can join in and comment. I will see your messages. Let me know who you think is going to take pole position. Gallen destroying a couple of signs, as well as scattering gravel and remnants of sign all over the track. And he's going to be rather slippery for the others. Yeah, so make sure you get involved on the chat. There's also, be grateful if you can hit that follow button. There's also our social media links down below at the bottom of the stream. You can head to our Facebook page to keep up to date with all our results. You can even head over to our group and join us. You can head to our YouTube channel and subscribe as well. So we store all of our past races on there, as Twitch removes that. So we've just had Psycho take fastest time again, followed by Mr. D-Train straight after stealing it. So both in the 1:30s. Looks like Vert Wheeler's car back there on that hairpin, I think. Oh, D-Train's run off track. We're seeing Psycho quickly come in, excuse me, with that quick time and the D-Train straight after. He was possibly drafting right in behind Psycho. We'll jump on board with some drivers. There's 3 minutes remaining of practice. Some very spectacular driving. It's very quick around here. It will be a very exciting qualifying session to see. If they're already breaking the 1:30s. Looks like Corby being passed there. You can see here. This is the hairpin onto pit straight. In a little bit too early coming out of that, so he's now going to have to get offline here for this corner. You need to be far out to be able to get a nice line through here, so that's put Psycho off, avoiding the exiting traffic. I'll bring those back up. you can see, rather fast corners here. You can get onto it quite heavy here and back out for these next corners. Up over the strip. And then still a fast sweep into here, pull it over, get it straight onto the brakes, and then down to third for this corner. Is one of my favourite tracks to drive. Oh, could have almost cost him an invalidated time. And then this is a nice chicane. If you can get a perfect line, you can fly that car through, slide it in and out brilliantly. And this is the first tricky hairpin. You can take that rather quickly if you get a good line through there. It's much harder here. You have to get the right apex, and it's a bit of a crest, and you can see the remnants of the different version of track where they have it cut off by the wall. You can see the ripple strip, and it does almost look like the track darts off a different direction once you get over that crest. So if there's low sitting cars, it is a little bit tricky to navigate that hairpin. Potentially see a bit of chaos on that corner, especially once we see some wet conditions. And while you are joining us for the stream, be sure to use the controls down below. You can play audio effects over the stream. I'll see which ones you play, so you can cheer on, make all sorts of different sound effects relating to what's going on during the race. Make it your own, have some fun with it. And we got 5 seconds remaining. And drivers now set to do their last laps. We've got Gallen with quickest time so far. I'd say 1:33.85. That is a very tidy time. So all times on the board are very, very strong times indeed. The 132 to 135 mark would probably be the most common consistent race pace speeds, I would be assuming. Oh, nice and broad through that. He's cut the corner slightly. Not sure if it's invalidated his time on him. Looks like we haven't been... Yeah, we have lost Skiddy. Oh, but we're having a bit of issue there. We have Corby also spin off. He brought that car in. I think we may have lost someone else, I'm not sure. Bertie and Gallen on their last laps, 10 seconds to complete it. Oh, Skiddy has rejoined, that's lucky. So far, a very good looking practice session with 130s for the first three, and then the following three 131s, followed by Mersey Blue for 132, and then I'm the 4-5, 110 in a 134, and then Vert Willie for 135. That is very, very fast driving indeed. So off to a 15-minute qualifier now. Weather conditions the same. Game time will now be 10 o'clock. Track temperatures will have increased slightly. And depending on what setups the drivers were testing out in that practice session, it could potentially see some definitely quicker times with that increase in track temp, and also most likely running lighter fuel loads now, as it is not default setups being forced. That Wheeler out on track ready. Looks like Skiddy has rejoined with a bit of lag interference as he's just joined the session. Hopefully it doesn't have too many connection issues. And not too much slip showing with the cars with cold tyres so far. These cars are quite nimble and love to stick on the track. Yeah, I'm looking to get around. No, maybe just getting some warmth from those tyres. Ooh, slide for both of them there, misjudging that corner. So as you can see, this is where the different variety of the track. It looks like Gallon is dragging a cone. If that is stuck under the car, that can actually start to cause some front aero damage. Yeah, it is sticking out of the front grille of his car. If you look closely, once we get another shot, he has a orange point sticking out on that front right grille. Yes, there's his cone. I have not seen that occur on the game before. Usually they get dragged underneath for a while and then you're wondering why all of a sudden you're taking damage later on down the track, and it's because there is a cone constantly flicking around underneath. So I was thinking it may have been a tow point. It might actually be a tow point. D-Train's car showing a fair bit of damage. First qualifying time off for the cold laps, 1:45s. Dirt in his distinctively coloured car with that Viper on the front. Very Cobra. And if you are joining us in for the stream, don't be shy, be sure to say hello in the chat. And here we go, 132 set by Mr. D-Train. Bertie a 132 also, and Corby a 131.776. Oh, going off wide a little bit. I'm not getting an up-to-date race feed, which is not unexpected for Project Cars 2, unfortunately. So, not getting time updates or when they are exceeding track limits. Psycho coming in with a 131.026, so already seeing nearly in the 130 marks. This is going to be a very tight qualifying indeed. Oh, he gets broad. He was using a nice draft, tucking in behind. Not sure who that is. I think it may have been... No, it's not Skitty. I'm trying to think who was driving the blue car. Mazzy Blue, I think it was. You saw his car ghost a little bit there, which was a bit odd. I'm not sure what goes on there. We do have ghosting off. And Psycho coming in with 131.026. They are very tight times. First three 131s, next three 132s, followed by 135, 136. Skitty and the Wheeler to set a time. And there we go, there is a 130 on the board. That's Bertie. He's brought that car back into the pitch straight away as well. Making some adjustments. Oh no, Psycho's coming for 129. That is quick indeed. The bar has been raised for the drivers now to try and break a 129. So Bertie a whole second off that pace. And then Corby with the 1:31, still a good time, being 2 seconds off that. That is spectacular driving there by Psycho. He has run off. I'll bring that back to the pits, I think. Yep. So I would be definitely happy with the setup of that car for Psycho. Setting a time like that is probably now coming in and creating a different setup. You can see marbles scattered throughout that corner. It is going to be very loose. The car's coming around on that bend. And it is a fast corner as well, so we'll definitely see a bit of rear slip. It looked like a little bit of lag skip. Gallon's come in with a 1:29 also. Then immediately bringing that car in as well. Mr. D-Train not far off a 1:29. See if we get a time. Oh, that's going to cost him the lap. Yes, and some damage. He's going to have to try and start that again. 7.5 minutes. He's going to continue driving it. Mustn't have been too much damage to it. No, yeah, definitely best to bring that car back in, get a fresh car, get back out. Still time to set a lap and try and get into that 1:29 mark. But 1:30.6 is still a very good time indeed. Ooh, locked it up going through that corner. But there is already debris on that section of track. Drivers needing to be a little bit cautious. Skiddy and Vert Wheeler to set a time. You can see plenty of debris on that track. And drivers do receive points for qualifying position as well. For a pole position in qualifying is 20 points. Taking out second place is 18. And decreases by 2 points from there up until 7th position, which is 9 points. And then goes down by ones until we reach 11th position, which is 4 points. And then the rest of the field receives 4 points for qualifying. So for all our drivers tonight, there's a range of points for qualifying from 20 down to 4. And then for a sprint race win is 30 points. And then for the main race there is also 60 points. And then also 5 bonus points up for grab for the fastest lap set of the race as well. We have the Wheeler 07 set a time of 1:34, a nice time indeed. And that was with him having a little bit of trouble with the car. Once he gets up to scratch and gets to know this car quite well, I think we'll definitely see him break some 1:32s for sure. If he can do consistent 1:34s around the track, he should be able to finish a strong position. All drivers' times on board now. Giddy setting a bit of a slow one. So didn't actually, when he went off, didn't actually cancel out his lap. Actually, we see him set a slightly better time and move up a little bit on the board. But so far looking difficult for the one to get into that 1:29 mark, with only Psycho, Agency and Gallon 350 setting a 1:29. There's not much between him and Psycho at the moment. It's only 0.127 of a second. Psycho is still in pits. Not sure if he's gone for a break or he's contemplating setups. Some of the drivers not realising there was going to be a wet stint in tonight's sessions. So it will be interesting to see how it goes in the wet, especially with a wet start. Drivers will have to make sure they've decided to go with a wet tyre, or try and work out whether it can hold off on the softs to get through that first bit. As it is free weather conditions, the weather is sync to race. It doesn't always separate it exactly into the race's time. It usually varies a bit. It could only be, out of the 25 laps, you could only see potentially probably 5 wet laps at the start, or it could be 10 laps. You're not sure. It's always random, which makes things a lot more interesting. And then the game progression speed is ×2. So the water will start to pool quicker than the usual. And then we've got 3 130s so far, and very tight. So Gallen has just taken pole position away from Psycho, beating it by 0.213. That is tight. Psycho's going to have to probably get back out there quickly to try and recover that pole position. There's not much that needs to be shaved off. Still in those pits, so with 2 minutes remaining, I think Gallen may be safe with pole position. So Mr. D-Train setting a 130.6 flat, and then Corby a 130.7 flat, and then almost Bertie only 130.820. So almost even numbers going throughout there, only a 0.1 of a hundredth difference between them. Then we head into a Zero and Mersey Blue in the 131s. And we've seen a much better time being set by Skiddy at the moment with a 141. We did see him in the 201. He did run off, so it didn't invalidate his lap, just counted the time still. And Gallen has brought the car in for the pits. No chance to try and improve that now. But Wheeler also coming in with a quicker time again. He was in the 134s, so he shaved off another second. Seems to be getting the knack of this car now. It is some very smooth driving. He may be one to keep an eye out for this race. It is his debut. It'd be very good with how he's come with learning this track and car just already in the practice and qualifying. 40 seconds remain. Can someone steal pole position away? Colby is known to steal pole position on last lap. Going up nice and wide there so we can get a good fast run. Keep an eye on Colby, see if he steals pole away. We'll join Corby for a lap. See if he makes this his golden lap. Qualifying is complete. It is last laps. 80 seconds remain. Any exceeding track limits now will invalidate, and last lap will not count. Just nearly could have cost him a lap. Had he had that throttle on with that back tyre off on that corner, it would have put him into a harsh spin. Here he is, coming into the chicane. Nice line through the chicane. Yes, he's doing quite well. It's not going to be enough to be able to steal pole away. Oh no, he wasn't impressed with that. He just ducked out anyway. And then we have qualifying session done for the sprint race. We have Gallon 350 taking pole position with a 1:29.633. Very quick indeed. We've got Psychogency starting in second place, Mr. D-Train in third, Corby in fourth, Bertie in fifth, Zero in sixth, Mersey Blue in seventh, Vert Wheeler in eighth, I'm the 4-5 in ninth, and Skiddy in 10th. So 10 seconds separating the field, but most of the drivers, it's only 5.8 seconds difference, so it's very tight. So our first 7 drivers only 2 seconds apart, so very tight indeed. So off into the sprint race now. Drivers are now in their ready room. We've got 2 minutes to set up their cars. So you can see some shadows being cast over the track from cloud cover. Weather conditions have now changed. Weather will progress from heavy cloud to overcast. Game time is 11 o'clock. There's 12 laps and no mandatory pit. The drivers will need to make sure that they are changing correct fuel loads for the race after using any lighter loads for the qualifying. Don't want to see them run out of fuel. You can see that cloud shading over the grid. And quite the grid layout for this is quite a fair bit of spacing between the cars, as you can see. So there's more than a car length between them, with Gallon having a strong advantage. He does need to get that car over to the left side of the track for that right-hand bend for the first corner. As you can see, rolling up the map, you can see the arrow representing Gallon there. They have the fast right-hand bend onto that straight, and here we are, ready to go. We did see Gallon last week do a jump start. We don't want him to see that now. He doesn't want to be too cautious. D-Train's inching forward already. Gallon's away. All right, doesn't look like a jump start. He needs to get that car back over to the left pretty quick, block some traffic, but he has D-Train coming up on that inside rather quickly. He needs to defend that position. We've had Psycho drop back a little bit. D-Train now taking into second place. That's a clean start so far. Oh, we've just had someone run off. That may have been a Zero. Yes, it was a Zero that ran off. We've got D-Train pushing Gallon rather tightly, looking to make an outside pass. That's going to put him a bit offline. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him, yes, run off wide. So that's allowed Psycho to gain a position. And Bertie just ducking in on that inside line, getting around D-Train also. He's off again wide with Corby quite high up, but Bertie's just dropped back. I think he may have copped a slowdown for that tight inside pass. Gallon starting to sneak away a little bit, same with Psycho. We have Corby following the field there. We've just seen Bertie having some issues with the car. We saw him run off, it looks like. Maybe trying to steer off to the right. We've got Mersey Blue unsure whether to pass him. Yes, he's almost, yes. Bertie's having some issues with that car that is not wanting to steer. Mersey Blue needs to be cautious in making a pass here. Oh, Psycho looking to get around on the outside. That's going to put him offline. That's cost him a little bit of time. A good strategy for that first corner is just to tuck in right behind, get the draft, and then slingshot out around for these two corners. as you do lose a lot of that speed coming into that sweeping bend if you get offline. Unless an error has been done by the car in front, it's not the best opportunity to pass. But Psycho is not giving up yet on Gallen. He just needs to gauge his opponent, see what areas he is lacking, and then try and make an opportunity in those areas to cover that ground and then make a pass. Gallen taking out the barrier indicators. Oh, Psycho has locked it up. No, he didn't. That was a nice move by Psycho. He's going to be slightly offline for the next hairpin. Can he dominate that position? Yes, he has. Onto pit straight. That was a brilliant pass done by a Psycho. Getting right up over that ripple strip. Looked like it could have almost spun out, but he maintained that car nicely through the corner. And we've just had times go all haywire. And here we go. It's caught back up. So Psycho's starting to get ahead a little bit now. And we have Vert Wheeler catching up with I'm Vert. Oh, he's just run off. You got to slow down for it. Birdie 1035 showing some issues with the car earlier, costing him some positions. But seen Mersey Blue get past him in the end. He was hesitating to make a pass as Birdie's car was diving all sorts of directions for a little bit. Mersey did not want to gain that extra position at the expense that Bertie may have come into his car, costing him the race. This will be a good position for Mersey Blue in 4th position in 3 laps into the race. 9 laps remaining. With Weaven missing out on tonight's round, that can be an opportunity for him to be in the top 3. And we've got Azuro closing in on Bertie as well. Saw Bertie setting some good pace in practice and qualifying. However, some definite issues going on with his car. Seeing him drop through the field a bit. Bertie getting away a little bit quicker than Azuro out of that last hairpin. We have Mersey Blue catching up on Corby as well. Mersey Blue doing some solid driving. Could definitely have a shot at a podium for this race, and he's not too far behind Psycho and Gallen. Psycho is definitely getting ahead of Gallen though. He's increased that margin to almost 3 seconds now. We saw Mersey Blue finish in 4th position for the sprint race last week after qualifying 6th. Showing some very good form with the car, and he finished on the podium with a 3rd in the main race after qualifying 5th. Now Zero again now closing in on Bertie. Catching back up on him. Oh, is there a fair bit of space? Bertie and Zero also closing in on Mersey Blue. It's a very close-up shot. So Corby trying to break stream. Cars making use of that pit lane. Coming the next race, it'll be definitely interesting seeing some issues coming along pit straight, as cars coming out of the pits will definitely be a risk of an accident. Gallen slipping behind quite a fair bit now. We'll bring up the timings and see what the fastest lap is so far. And that is with Psychogency, a 1:30.990. That's a very nice time for a race time. Last lap, a 1:31. You can see on par by almost 1.5 seconds quicker than Gallen's time, which is why we're seeing him starting to creep away. There's a bit of debris on the track on that bend again. We saw that in practice and qualifying as well. That is going to be a hazard to the cars as the race goes on. You can see plenty of glistening on that corner, and that is that fast chicane. Bertie, a little bit offline for that hairpin. Coming up to the last corner from lap 5 of 12. Ooh, bit of understeer going on for that car. He had that at full lock to try and get it through. Getting very weird time data at each lap. It shows Gallen being a minute 20 behind Psycho, which is rather odd. And be sure to let us know who you think's going to take this win. The driving so far by Psycho, I think he will be a strong contender for a win for the race. He's got some very good pace, and he can be rather relaxed with that pace at the moment. There's not much pressure of Gallen on him at this stage, and he's not going to be catching up on traffic too far. The last driver in the field's a minute 10 behind, so it's not quite a lapse time yet. Maybe by towards the end of it, it could be different. He keeps doing that pace. Dirty, a second behind Mersey Blue. We seem to have Bertie catch up on the tail of Mersey Blue, but then starts to slip back a bit. You can see a fair bit of fighting with that car around that hairpin. I'm not sure if he's got a technical issue or if it's a car setup issue. You can see it jolting quite a fair bit. That may even just be a bit of lag being experienced with the game as well. That is a possibility. With Wheeler coming up to Imler, looks like he's going to try and make a pass. Oh, that was narrowly avoiding contact with Imler. Luckily not taking any damage. It did cost him that time that he caught up to Imler 4-5. Birdie's car starting to show a bit better form at the moment. I think we may see him make a move on Mersey Blue this lap. Mersey Blue cutting that corner quite a fair bit. I think he's copped a slowdown for that. But he's retaken this position. Oh, there's a bit of traffic on the... I think that may be a lap car, I'm not sure. Yeah, that was Skiddy. Oh, narrowly avoiding Azuro. He's going out wide. Maybe a bit of oversteer coming back into that, trying to find the apex. Oh, he's having an issue there with that car nearly diving into the pit wall. Oh, and there's been an accident. Looks like Bertie and Mersey Blue have made contact. We have seen Bertie's car doing all sorts of strange things with the front wheels. Hopefully not much has happened to his car. D-Train has slipped back as well. We've now seen Azuro move up into 4th. Corby's in 3rd position. So I think there may have been a spun out car causing Bertie and Mersey Blue to have to try and avoid. There's a little bit of damage to Mersey Blue's front end by the looks of things. Yeah, a little bit of buckling on that front right bonnet. Hard to tell with his livery colours, but yes, I think there is a bit of damage there. Doesn't look like it'd be impacting the performance too much. Much better line through the chicane. Weird times again. Sorry, minus a minute 2 to only 2 seconds, back to 4 seconds, a minute 20. That is very weird timing indeed. Lap 9. 3 laps remaining. Psycho all out the front on his own at this stage. Fastest lap of 1:29.755, so he's very quick out there. And his last lap of 1:30, which is still, yes, it is faster than any other driver's best time, being his last lap. At that pace, I think this race is his. He can probably not push the car too much more. He does not want to risk a mistake. That could cost him the race. He just needs to keep that car now consistent, get it across the finish line in one piece. He has a little bit of a safety net to allow a second off each lap. He's got 5 seconds over Gallen, so he can afford that 1 second per lap just to take that car a little bit easier. Gallen doing some very good consistent driving as well. Losing that race lead to that beautiful inside pass by Psycho. That was a very tidy pass and very unexpected for that corner. It looked like Psycho was about to lose it, but came through brilliantly. Colby having 7 seconds behind him to 4th position. A little bit of a safety net for him for taking a spot on the podium. It'd be hard for him to catch 6 seconds up with Gallen over 2 laps. And 0 also 7 seconds safety net behind for him with Bertie. So it's about on par for that. Mr. D-Train's catching up on Bertie. He's only 3 seconds behind. Another 3 seconds behind him is Mersey Blue. So it was looking like he could have had a shot on the podium at one stage. A little incident did cost him. It will have to be checked on the replays in the coming days to see what happened there. I'm pretty sure it was just a spin out causing an accident, or did get over that strip a little bit too much, and we've just had Gallen receive a time penalty. He's got that safety net, so if it's only a 1 second penalty for not abiding by a slowdown, that's not going to cost him in any way. Lap 11, almost finished up for this race. It's been a relatively clean race. So for 10 cars on this track, it is quite nice. You can see just how nimble these cars are, and they are very fitting for this track indeed. It'll be very different coming into the next session tonight with race 2 starting in the wet. Nosy Blue a little bit to try and catch up. He's got lots of time between him and I'm the 45 tailing in behind him. Mr. D-Train has slipped back. They're running off track potentially. That Wheeler, ooh, he's just gone past Skiddy. So Skiddy is a lap down. So Vert Wheeler not wanting to get involved in an incident with him. Skiddy possibly would have been shown the blue flag for that. Vert Wheeler just needing to allow him to move over and then make that pass. Doesn't want to cost himself the race for an accident just on the last lap. We'll jump on board with Psycho for a victory lap, I think. He has allowed a bit of safety net, so Gallen now being 3.5 seconds. He was 5. Was using that tactics. Gallen's quickly coming up. He's closing in. Half a lap to go. As long as he doesn't cave into the pressure, just take him easy. He doesn't want to cop a slow down here either. Oh, nice line through the chicane. That's good. He's going to have to avoid. I think this is Skiddy up ahead. Yes, that's Skiddy's car. This is 1.4 off his best, but that's a 129. He's at no risk here of Gallen being able to pass him. He's just got to get this through with no mistake, and the race will be his. Making it easy. Well done, Psycho. Congratulations on a well-earned victory. Race complete. Gallen coming in at second. Corby running in behind these guys. Oh no, at least he's got 16 seconds before the next position. That won't cost him. Gets it across the line, taking a spot on the podium of 3rd place. Well done, Corby. Oh, Zero making contact with Bertie. These guys are going to fight it out, elbow to elbow. Coming into the last corners. Oh, looks like Bertie may have locked up. Zero looking to take a different line. It's not enough. Bertie comes in at 4th, Zero in 5th. D-Train sitting hot on the tail of Mersey Blue as well. They're going to fight for this last section. He's going to dive around. It's not enough. Mersey blocks it. Oh, that is tight. Mersey taking 6th and Mr. D-Train in 7th. That was almost a photo finish for that position there. On the 4-5-10. Almost locking it up in that hairpin. 40 seconds remain to get last laps done. And once this finishes up, we will have 7-minute break once we go to our next session starting screen. So don't go away just yet. We've had I'm the 4-5-1-10 take 8th position. And there we are, drivers across. Race results, Psychogency taking a brilliant race win, with also taking the fastest lap, seeing a 129 come in the fastest lap of the race. That is very tight driving indeed. And Gallen also on the podium in position 2. Corby taking a spot on the podium also in 3rd, Bertie in 4th, Zero in 5th, Mersey in 6th, D-Train in 7th, I'm the 45 in 8th, Bert Wheeler in 9th, and Skiddy in 10th. So some very good times there, as you can see, also on their best laps. So very consistent driving throughout the field. So it'll mix things up a lot more in the next session. So we will be heading off for a 7-minute break just momentarily, and then we will head into a 15-minute qualifier and then the main race, which is starting in the wet. So it'll be very exciting to see. And that is 25 laps with a mandatory pit. So pit strategies being a key part to a victory here. So stay tuned. We'll be back at 35 past 8 and we'll be ready for the next session. Stay tuned. And we are back for the second session of round 2. Still at Donington Park GP. We're heading over into 15-minute qualifying session. We just saw Psychogency do a brilliant drive, taking a race win for the sprint race. So our qualifying session, weather is overcast. Game time is 1 o'clock in the afternoon. You will be seeing some slightly cooler track times. Not sure what's going on with Bert Wheeler's car there at the moment. Oh, Gallen's just received a grid place penalty. Looks like we've just lost a driver too. I think that might be Vert. Yes, he may have disconnected. So unfortunate for Gallen forgetting to hit that pit limiter button. You are limited to 60 kilometers an hour in the pits. So if he does set a pole position time, that will only set him back by 1 place. Now we have had Vert Wheeler drop out. I haven't seen a disconnect notice come up on my screen. It doesn't always come up on my screen with being the race director. However, the stream for the broadcast usually does come up. It'd be helpful if I put this stream to full screen for us as well. Oh, looks like Skiddy just diving off. Oh, and a big slide, no damage. You can get the car back out. I think drivers are experiencing some slightly cooler temps with how the cars are a little bit more flighty at the moment. And that corner is the one we saw Psycho secure the win. Yes, so we've just had Vert Wheeler send me a message. His PS4 restarted. So I'll just let him know. Skiddy having some dramas there. We'll just keep watching him while I try and arrange for Vert Wheeler to get back in on the session. I can't re-invite him once I'm in the race director mode. I actually have to head back to the lobby, and I cannot actually go back to the lobby without actually quitting entirely, and then this would end the stream for this. Thank you, Klaus, for hitting that follow button. Much appreciated. Thanks for joining in on the chat. Let us know who you think will be taking pole position in the qualifying session and who you might think will win the race. Last race we saw Gallen 350 take Skiddy. Gallon 350 take pole position. He did get off to a wonderful start to the race, and then we saw Psychogency make a beautiful pass on the hairpin. And then from there, some very fast driving by Psycho consistently from there, setting the fastest lap of the race. Whether it will be different for the start of the race, it is wet conditions, so a wet start to the race. And we do tend to see a lot of our usually fast drivers not perform as strongly in the wet. And a lot of our other usual midfield drivers and even some who don't usually finish too strongly in the races actually start to handle the car a lot better in the wet. I'm actually a fan of driving in the wet. And most races that I compete in when it is wet conditions, I do tend to finish a much stronger race position. However, when starting in the wet, and Gallon coming out, that is definitely going to be an issue with that pit exit coming out right at the end of a very fast pit straight, and then cars needing to actually get over, and the driving line crosses into the pit lane exit. And there we go. We've just had a message come back from Vert Wheeler. He has made it back into the session. We'll see him join very momentarily. He'll have 8 minutes to get back in and get a time in. So that is good to see Vert Wheeler back in. It is his debut racing with Apex. A little bit of a lag going on at the moment as Vert Wheeler enters back in, and here he is in his purple Ferrari. And I've just accepted your group approval as well, Klaus, so thanks for joining in. You can definitely get involved in our racing as well. And here we go, Psycho setting a 1:29 again. Very tight time, just marginally breaking that 1:30 mark into the 1:29s. Now getting a race feed. Gallon 350 has had his lap time invalidated. He's struggling at the moment. He's be a little bit off pace, I would assume, at the moment. As he was one of the first to get out in the pits, but did speed in the pit lane, so he's received a 1 grid place penalty. The timing showing Gallon having to have that penalty by starting 1 place back. We need to see Gallon be able to take a pole position time so he can at least start from position 2. Some decent times coming in on the boards already. And halfway through, Gallon cutting that a little bit. He's struggling with that car at the moment. Overcast conditions possibly slightly affecting the setup of his car. He may need to make some slight adjustments. He may need to tinker with the anti-roll bar by the looks of things. There seems to be a fair bit of rear slip going on for that car on those fast bends, and we saw Gallon actually perform very strongly on those corners. He's very off pace at the moment. And we saw Birdie doing quite well at the start of race 1 for tonight's round, but seemed to have been some very strange issues. I'm not sure if it was some latency issues that we were seeing, but the wheels were tending to steer left and right quite a fair bit, like he was fighting that car consistently, and he had no damage. Whether it's a game issue or his steering wheel setup may have had some technical problems. But Vert Wheeler, there he is, he's out there. He's got a good, possibly 3 laps to be able to set. Oh, and that's going to cost him, I think this is out lap. As long as he doesn't make any damage, he can keep that car going. Oh, he may pull in front of, narrowly avoiding Mr. D train. So it hasn't cost him his lap, so it's his out lap. He just doesn't want to take damage. He just wants to get that car around and then get a time on the board in before the time runs out. And look at current point standing with Psycho taking a second place qualifying in the first round of tonight, and then a race win and fastest lap could see him potentially moving up. Psycho having disqualifications in the first round, so Psycho sped in pits both times and didn't finish the race in the sprint race and main race. Qualified reasonably at the back of the field. So he's currently last in the championship in 8th position with 21 points. So that could see him move up a fair bit. We've got Gallon 350, who is leading the championship with 124 points currently, followed by Bertie 1035 with 105, and then Weaven 777 with 102 points. And Weaven 777 unable to make it to tonight's round. And that then lets the rest of the field have an opportunity to climb back up into that top 3 position. Mersey Blue and Corby being very strong contenders to reclaim that position. But he'd see Mersey Blue driving quite strongly throughout most of the first race tonight. And he did spin out, so talking to the drivers in between the break that we had, saw the drivers mentioning that the incident between him and Bertie, Mersey actually spun out on a ripple strip and Bertie had nowhere to go, and then they made contact. So it's unlikely a penalty will be given. It'll just be a racing incident. And it was a very clean race consistently throughout that first race. I dare say that will be a very different story for the start, with it being a wet start. Didn't hear if drivers were discussing what tyre compound they're going to go with. So the Ferrari Series 488 cars only has a soft compound, and then the all-weathers, so there isn't a hard compound option. Drivers on this track would definitely probably be struggling to make a set of softs last. Perhaps being able to weather out the wet stint to the start of the race, they could maintain a set of softs, as it's not going to be overly wet at the start. It will progress. It'll just depend on how long the game decides to continue the rain. And we've had Mersey Blue move up into a second place with a 1:30.758. That is a very nice time set by Mersey Blue. Mersey Blue needs to set a very strong qualifying position, I think, and then he will do rather well in the wet driving. Through other series with Apex eSports League, Mersey Blue has done well in the wet. This could be an opportunity for him to have a very strong finish. Last week at Willow Springs, Mersey Blue did finish very strong, qualifying 6th in the sprint, finishing 4th in the race, and then qualifying 5th in the main race and finishing 3rd. And now seeing him in position 2 for qualifying, it is wonderful to see Mersey Blue up towards the top there, and I don't think there'd be much opportunity for him to move down by much with only 10 seconds left. Corby's in the pits. He's known for stealing pole position on the last lap. He's not going to have that opportunity tonight. We didn't see it in the first one. Psycho is starting from the front. Qualifying's complete. Gallen struggling with the car at the moment in these conditions. You can see that car slipping. I think the anti-roll is affecting with the lower track temps at the moment. Not improving. So Gallen qualifying in 7th, but he has that one grid place penalty. Mersey Blue finishing his last lap in a 2nd place. He will be over the moon with a starting position such as that. 10:30, 10:35. Finish this lap in time. So you can definitely should be able to finish this lap. Can he improve that? Climb into the 129s and take a pole. Oh no, he's lost it on the chicane. That is definitely going to cost him. We'll bring that in, yes. Disappointing. 0. I think he is actually being driven by AI now, so he just needs to bring the car to the pits. He won't have time to get a lap in. So results we're seeing so far are done. Psycho taking a pole position here. Mersey Blue starting from 2nd. Well done, Mersey Blue. That is a great qualifying there with a 1:30.758 and Bertie a 1:39.20. And here we have the qualifying results for race 2 for round 2 of the Ferrari Series 488 Challenge. Psychogency taking pole position with a 1:29.763, followed by Mersey Blue, Bertie, Corby, 0, Mr. D-Train, Gallen in 7th, which will push him down to 8th. So that means I'm the 4-5-1-10 moves up into 7th position because of Gallen's penalty. And then Vert Wheeler starts in 9th and Skiddy in 10th. So far, times across the board a little bit different. Our stronger contenders moving back towards the back a little bit, but our first 8 drivers only 4 seconds difference, and then Vert Wheeler and Skiddy in 7 seconds. So still very consistent times. As you can see, the sector times there, most cars on par in Sector 1 as well as Sector 2, and a little bit of potential play with quite a bit of variety there with Sector 3. So they will be the sections to watch. So we will head off into the race ready room. You can hear the rain falling. There won't be any pools of water just yet. It'll be a little bit slippery. Drivers have got 2 minutes now to set up their cars, also set pit strategies, as it is a mandatory pit for this race, so very essential that they have that set correctly, as if they're starting on wets, they will definitely want to use that mandatory pit to get onto some softs, as the weather conditions will change to medium cloud and then into clear. Should be well and truly dry by the end of the race. It is 25 laps. I'm estimating we'll probably see some rain over the first 7 laps. And then the ripple strips on this track for these cars are quite chaotic. They will put the car into a spin quite easily, and with the wet, that is going to make them even more slippery. And then with a little bit of pooling water, drivers are going to have to now start gauging a slightly different driving line. Hopefully we don't lose any drivers. If they don't hit that ready in time, they will be disqualified into the pits and won't be able to participate in the race. So usually when you see the cars do a little dip, that's them actually reloading any setups. And then once all drivers have hit ready, we don't have to wait out that 2 minutes. It will sync the game and get ready for the lights to count down to the start of the race. go. Make sure you use those sound controls down below to do effects over the race. Let us know you're going to win. Oh, we've got Psycho nudging forward. He doesn't want to jump this. Off he goes. It's delayed him in the end. We've got Bertie diving in between. Mersey pushing up, taking the lead of the race already. But I think he's not on a good driving line. He's on the outside, but he's got a good fast pace to go through there. Psycho having to go slightly slower. We've got 3 abreast with Bertie, Corby and Azuro. Oh, and we've had someone run off wide. I think that's Corby. He's re-entered. He may into a spin. Oh, almost taking into Vert there. That was quite dangerous coming back on. Psycho starting to get ahead. A fair bit of water spray already coming into that corner. You see this corner here get covered in a fair bit of gravel from that sand trap. A lot of cars tend to run wide. As we can see, Vert Wheeler off in the distance has already done that. And then it will have a bit of pooling water over time. So a very dangerous section of the track. Relatively clean start so far. Okay, in good form already. A nice line through that chicane. At this stage, it is quite safe to get up over the ripple strips through that chicane. However, once it gets a little bit more wet, definitely not. This is where we saw Psycho make that pass on Gallen that made Psycho win the race. You could see the car starting to oversteer quite a bit getting up over that ripple strip. We saw Psycho slip there before. We've just seen Mersey go off. He's recovered. He's got a 0 not far behind, but that has now let Psycho get ahead. And seeing drivers getting out into that pit exit that is part of the driving line. As we see drivers start heading in for their mandatory pits, coming out of there is going to cause a bit of a traffic incident. Cars will be coming in quick and need to pay attention to who's coming out. The drivers are usually pretty good, so they are all in a party chat being able to talk to each other. We've developed that so that drivers can let each other know if they want to try and get past someone and where they're going and when they're coming out of pits, just to try and reduce some of the incidents. So that allows, very similar to the real deal as well, with your race engineers and team managers letting you know when traffic's coming out so they can give you the clear. Mersey Blue has slipped back into third with a 0 now taking second place, and Psycho climbing ahead already on lap 2 and put 2 seconds on the rest of them. Gallen, our championship leader, qualified towards the back in 8th position. He has now regained 3 spots and quickly closing in on Birdie. Looking to take a different line there, but that's put him off. Got to wheel up on that curb. That is going to be dangerous as the conditions get more wet. Mersey Blue and a 0 still looking to fight. We've got Bertie, Gallen, Corby and Mr. D-Train all nice and tight. Gallen looking to make an inside pass. He's forcing Bertie offline slightly. Bertie will have the speed advantage for that corner as Gallen was taking an inside line through there. But he did manage to get through safely with that pass and starting to put a bit of distance on him, but running off wide. Look like water playing a bit of a part in that. We'll jump back to these guys contesting here. It's going to be a bit of a battle between Corby, Mr. D-Train and Bertie. Can't see any pools of water on the track just yet. The track is relatively flat and a fair few crests, so a lot of good runoff points. You can see a few pools of water before coming into that chicane. Drivers will need to be cautious approaching that chicane over the next few laps as that starts to get a little bit more damp on the approach. Oh, we've got Corby right on the tail of Bertie. I think we've got him past here. It's going to be a slide. Yeah, a little bit of oversteer coming in, but manages to pull it through. Those hairpins are going to be quite chaotic. And on the 4.5.10, passing Mr. D-Train. And a traffic cone being dragged, most of that pit straight by Mr. D-Train. Look like D-Train may have been looking to make a pass on the inside on the first bend. And he's run off wide, and then aquaplane straight off the track into the gravel trap. Mersey Blue re-catching up on a 0. Doing some nice driving here. Just so you can see the conditions that the cars are facing at the moment, visibility is going to be quite limited, especially coming into the last hairpin. So you can see a little bit of an aquaplane coming into that chicane. Mersey Blue, some very strong pace over a 0. Oh, but this is going to be a bad line for him. He's going to have to lock that up. Aquaplane through, re-enters. Oh, he's re-entered straight back into Gallon. He's going to have to redress that, let Gallon go through. Oh, he's spun out. That is unfortunate for Mersey. He was doing such a strong drive. That inside pass saw him aquaplane straight off track and then spin out into those cars. And I think he's battling with the car at the moment. Gallon seems to have gotten out of that reasonably okay. On the 4.5.110, looking to also get past Mersey. He may have a wounded car at this stage. Now race leader Psycho once again starting to well and truly put a gap on the rest of them, now leading out by 6 seconds. Can that Psycho do the same as before? And secure another race victory. He needs it to be able to recoup those lost points from the first round, with 2 disqualifications, receiving no points for either of those races, only qualifying points. There's 60 points up for grabs for a victory in this race. And we're securing pole position, that's also another 20 points, and then if he can set fastest lap, another 5 points. So big points up for grabs. Zero and Corby starting to close the gap on each other. That hairpin looking quite risky for them at the moment. All drivers taking it relatively slow. Mersey Blue, I'm the 45 and Mr. D-Train, almost free abreast going down pit straight. D-Train in a good position for the line. Mersey Blue blocking it, almost looking like a spin to potentially happen. I think these three may do another swap in positions yet again. These drivers having to remain heavily focused. We're 6 laps in, rain is still falling. Oh, Mersey Blue looking to make an inside pass. Not enough to get around him. These guys, there's nothing between the three. You see that pooling water coming into the chicane. nice line by Mersey Blue and Azuro. D-Train starting to depart. Looks like some of the rain is starting to ease up. There's less rainfall over the grandstands at pit lane. Oh, and a nudge by Mersey Blue. And then he's being clipped by Azuro as well. Mersey Blue did redress the nudge, but then putting him into Azuro has then cost him. It did look like D-Train was quite heavy on the brakes, not for Mersey to be expecting him to stop so quickly. I don't think that may be a penalty issue. Sorry, that's Imda, not Azuro. We've got Azuro and Gallen. So Gallen's climbed up in the third position, but Azuro is not letting him get away with it too easily. A fair bit of rainfall on this side of the track. The clouds starting to lift. Gallen trying to break stream. You can see the section of track he was on was less water spray. This rainfall here has definitely eased up. Track slightly drier on the driving line. I think we'll have a dry track by halfway in the race. Oh, Azuro losing time there, but Gallen also going off track. What's going on here? Oh, this could have almost had him dive back into Azuro. Azuro takes third position. With Azuro and Gallen taking exchanges for third position. D-Train starting to catch back up on Azuro and Mersey Blue after being shunted by Mersey Blue and then spinning out and being T-boned by the 45. Also Vert Wheeler catching up, so yes, I can see some raindrops. But the sun is starting to come out. Oh, and Skiddy goes off. Vert Wheeler taking the opportunity to get past nice and clean. I'm the 4-5 110 closing in on Bertie. If you are joining us for the stream, please hit that follow button. We would appreciate it. We're trying to grow to our next milestone of 50 followers. Oh, and there's been contact on the 45. Nudges Bertie. Bertie losing a bit of speed through that chicane. And with Imda sitting quite tight up there, forced to have contact made. Bertie ducks back in front of the 45 just in time. I can't see any rainfall. Bertie's got a nicer line here, but he's going to have to be heavy on the brakes. Oh, another nudge. And he's into the pits. He may be having issues with that car. So serving his mandatory pit. So most likely drivers, engineers on the race crew have said that the rain has cleared up. Possibly would be safe to swap out for a set of softs if they have gone the wet tyres so far. As there is not much spray, and it looks like the driving line's dried up pretty quick with 10 cars. And over to our race leader, who we haven't been able to see too much. He's just out the front with a race on his own at this stage. Driving nicely. There's been some brilliant, fast, consistent driving done by Psycho. We'll have a quick look at time, see if he's taken the fastest lap. hasn't. Fastest lap's gone to Corby with 1:36.735. Very fast driving by Corby. Corby and Psycho, both of some very tidy looking cars. Their mandatory pit will be a quick stop. A Zero hot on the tail of Gallon, forcing an error. Gallon runs wide, allowing a Zero to then sneak through for an inside pass. That was a brilliant move by a Zero. And be sure to head to our social media links down below on the bottom of our stream. You can keep up to date with all race results. Oh, that is so close. Getting out and narrowly bring it just in time. That could have been an accident for the both of them. Drivers looking for different lines at this stage, and there's still some pools of water off the driving line. They need to be cautious. You can see a fair bit of water coming into that chicane. That section will take a little bit to dry. You can see here is rather dry. The rain stopped falling on this section of the track first. A little bit of spray slightly offline for that section. Gallon looking to make an inside pass, gets in and around, but no, he's too quick. Oh, bit of contact. It's cost Gallon a bit of time, and he's run off. Zero's going to have the advantage having the driving line. Gallon going out wide into that pit lane exit. Colby serving his mandatory pit. Okay, doing well with now 13-second lead. Zero and Gallon possibly considering pitting quite early. Just depends on what they started on. They're already on softs. They could power through at this stage. Oh, and that's allowed Gallon 350. Get past a Zero slightly offline. He had to get on those brakes a fair bit through that corner, otherwise he would have ran off track. I don't think it's over between these two. I think there'll be a fair few exchanges in position just yet. They're very consistent, these two. Psycho probably wants to consider making a pit rather soon. As these guys, yes, he's heading into the pits as these guys are starting to close in. These two most likely will stay out for another lap or so. Try and put a little bit more pace over Psycho before deciding to head in. So, almost halfway through the race. We've had Corby and Psycho head in for their mandatory pits. Psycho's made his way out. We'll bring up laps and you'll see what lap time he sets. So a 2:13. So he was setting 1:37. So we're seeing approximately 30 seconds for a pit stop. Psycho's 20 seconds behind the race lead up. So he just needs to not worry too much about... Oh, Zero's nearly off the line, running wide on that corner. For Psycho to climb back up into the race lead position. He doesn't need to try and make too much of an aggressive move to move up the field, as a pit stop only taking an additional 30 seconds to the lap. That will see him reclaim back to be 10 seconds in the lead again. So he just needs to keep that car consistent and keep it safe for the next few laps. Oh, Zero locking it up into the hairpin. Can he recover that nicely? Yes, that's cost him. I think Gallen's just ducked into the pits. Yes, the Gallen's in, so Zero has decided to stay out for another lap. Psycho will reclaim that position back away from Gallen. Mr. D-Train moves up into second position. A little bit wide, car makes it through on that ripple strip, track looking rather dry. It's a little bit cloudy. Vert, Wheeler and I'm the 45 fighting on the hairpin. Contact between the two, both spinning out. And recovering reasonably okay. Corby's received a penalty. Only 1 second time penalty, so that's not abiding by a slowdown. Most of the track is dry. We saw Corby already head into the pits, so he's on the softs, and then that pooled water just before the chicane, causing chaos for him. He's going to be cautious coming into there until that section of the track dries, and this hairpin here is also rather wet as well. Psycho's moved up into fourth position. He doesn't want to get into an incident here with Corby. Corby could potentially spin here. Corby will need to try and take a position away from Corby. Mr. D-Train and a Zero will need to pit. Okay, probably not wanting to get too aggressive just yet. This needs to tuck in and stay reasonably close behind Corby and see if he can force an error. And even if in the long run he can't get past Corby, Corby's now got that 1 second time penalty. So finishing right on the tail of Corby, could definitely see a position be taken away by way of penalty. Looks like they've caught up to Mr. D-Train rather quickly here. And here we are coming up into the chicane. We saw Corby struggling, and yes, he's done it again. Oh, 3 abreast going down the back straight. Psycho gets in front. It's going to be offline for this corner. It's going to put him into a sphinx. Oh, a little bit of a rub. Psycho tucks back in. He's going to have a better line here for this tight hairpin. Corby is nudging him again. There is some good rubbing going on between here. And D-Train has just ducked off into the pits. Psycho has reclaimed the race lead. Oh, Mr. D-Train has received a time penalty. It would have been speeding heading to the pits. I think he made a last-minute decision. So yes, that's given him a 10-second penalty for speeding in the pits. And not being able to bring that car up quick enough just in time for the pits. We have a Zero and Gallen yet again contesting. We saw a Zero run off from an aquaplane. He's run off again off the power while in the grass, being able to bring that car back into just in time. I think Corby is starting to catch up. Corby's been struggling with this chicane now. Ooh, Psycho cut that a fair bit. I think he'd be being shown a slowdown by the race director. if we can see him slow down at all. We could play it safe and try and block Corby as part of the slowdown. We'll have a bit of time to try and serve it. If he did cop it, we'll see the red number come up on the screen. If he doesn't abide by it, a red number shows a time penalty given to a car. No, it didn't look like he did. With some of the corners, you can cut them when there is pooling water, as it becomes a safety hazard. So you can actually cut some corners without it affecting it. So the track may be wet enough to allow the relaxation of the track limit rules. There's a 20-second time limit penalty before they have to serve a drive-through as well. Psycho starting to put a bit of space on him. On the 45, closing in on Vert. Seen on the 45, struggled with that hairpin the last couple of laps around as well. Oh, and he's run off wide, but he's recovered nicely from that. That has cost him half a second. He's got quite a bit of pace coming down through those bends. He's showing a bit of damage to the front of that car, so he will be having a slight aero disadvantage over Vert. Cutting that corner, he's probably going to be shown a slowdown. We're hearing back off a little bit. I think he did back off slightly. Mersey Blue was right on the tail of Bertie, but then just losing it on that corner. Looks like conditions have changed to clear now by the look of it. Forecast was to go to medium cloud to clear. Yes, there's no clouds in the sky. Tracks will be getting a lot drier and track temps will be increasing. On the 45 and Vert, they both were having a good battle in the first race as well. Oh, and he's both losing it. Tucks back in on the draft of Vert. He does have that front aero damage to the car. He needs to take advantage of the slipstream from the car ahead of him. They're starting to separate here. We now have Mersey Blue, Bertie and Skiddy all contesting. Mersey Blue and Skiddy side by side. Skiddy's going to have the better position here. Mersey needs to get off the brakes. Yeah, he's aquaplaning. That locked the car up into a slide, but luckily Skiddy did the same also, allowing Mersey to recover quicker and before Skiddy, getting on the power a lot sooner. Both cars losing it there. There is quite a bit of water on that back end of the track, so you can see the track slopes down into that hairpin, which is where the water is still remaining. And here is Psycho doing a repeat of last race, making up for those DQs for speeding in the pits in round one. You can see the car not wanting to turn into the corner as they hit that little bit of pool water before the chicane. You don't want to be under the brakes, so you could hear Psycho just get off the throttle and let the car dive in and then power through that chicane. Skiddy now into the pits for his mandatory pit. I'm the Verto and several other drivers yet to pit. Psycho, Corby and Gallen have pitted. Oh, and this is what I was talking about, the risk of the driving line being on that pit exit. So Skiddy being a lap down over Psycho, it could have ended badly for both of them. I want to see fastest lap now that conditions have dried up. 1:31 seems to be the time, and it's gone to Psycho again, a 1:31.540. We're on board with our race leader. Lap 19, 6 laps remain. And he's already passed Skiddy. I'm not sure who he's catching up here. See the colours, you can see that's that chicane that the car's locking up on. I think that's I'm the 45 that he's just passed. You can see the pool of water across this chicane, so it makes the car go straight as they're turning in. There's a lot of understeer happening coming through there. We saw Mersey Blue also struggling through there just before, as well as Vert and I'm the 45. Brilliant driving by Psycho here. That was a good shot, just showing that aquaplaning happening to both those cars. Almost a spin by Bertie. Feathered that through. He's lost a little bit of pace, allowing Mersey Blue to catch up just that little bit more. Careful of that ripple strip on that last hairpin. But he's seeming to start to get away from Mersey Blue at the moment. Nice throttle control coming through there by Mersey Blue. We're now on lap 20 of 25. Psycho Agency leads the race by 7 seconds. Mersey just goes off, that's just cost him some time. Getting back in 10th position, he's got a few seconds to catch up. Oh, and he's just narrowly missed I'm the 45. I'm the 45 spinning out, trying to do a quick flip spin in the grass. He's getting narrowly avoiding, that was not much distance between the two as he went past. Wheeler has a little bit of time to go before he catches up on Mr. D-Train. Mr. D-Train does have a 10-second penalty. If he can close in another 10 seconds on him, he could potentially see him gain a position over him. The driver's really backing off for that stream of water across the track. We've just had Psycho, that's Corby. Psycho take a time penalty, so 1 second's gone to him for a slowdown. He may as well just take any time penalties on the chin at this stage. A few seconds here is not going to affect him with a 10-second lead. He keeps at this pace. I think this race will definitely be a win to Psycho. Probably doing some great driving also. But with 3 laps remaining, I don't think he can catch up on Psycho at this stage. Oh, definitely not with going off. I'm not sure what happened there. Lots of concentration, something going on. So 22 laps in of this race, drivers with fatigue starting to set in on them. And Gallen starting from 8th position, now sitting up with a podium spot with 3rd position. Not qualifying strongly like he did in the first session of tonight. Really struggling with the car in the second qualifying session and then receiving that grid penalty as soon as he exited the pits for his first lap. A brilliant recovery drive by Gallen. A little bit of feathering of that throttle as he potentially almost went off track. And Zero sitting back in 4th position. He has Bertie 10:35, only a second behind him. Bertie taking a much stronger line through that corner. Mersey Blue's not too far behind these two guys as well. These two need to be careful passing each other. Oh, and then Azuro's gone off wide as he ran to safely just in time. Mersey jumping across. This is the dangerous spot. Azuro in a pretty good line. He held that quite well. Mersey Blue losing a bit of speed. I think he may have cut that corner a little bit, so he may have been serving a slowdown. Oh, some contact. That's disastrous. Zero needs to let Mersey Blue get ahead there. I think Mersey Blue may have spun out in front. May not be a penalty. I think Mersey Blue may still be able to get around him just yet. Closing in rather quickly yet again, considering he just did get spun out. We'll see what happens just before the chicane. Mersey Blue seems to have a stronger line going through the aquaplane into the chicane. It's quite interesting that that is actually still wet this far into the race with the conditions drying up. Oh, Mersey Blue is going to have an opportunity to have the inside line. And he's been driving strong coming into the chicanes. I think he could get ahead. Will be some decent points for him to get a 5th position if he can maintain that. Yes, that's let him get away quite a fair bit. Azuro a little bit offline. Getting a little bit off pace from I'm the 45. I think all drivers have served their mandatory pit. They need to do it this lap if they haven't. Zero's just heading to the pits now. I'm not sure if he's taken damage or if he just needs to serve his mandatory pit in time. Mr. D-Train is sitting back in 7th position. It'll now see him move into 6th. So Zero, that was a quick stop, so I think he's just doing a stop and go. So a fair bit of distance between drivers at the moment. We're on lap 24. Race almost finished. Nice clear conditions. Majority of the track has dried up. Gallen catching up to some cars here. I think that may be I'm the 45, yes. So Gallen needs to get past him quite cleanly. We'll be tucking in 6 seconds behind our race leader. And here we are for Psycho. We'll join him for yet again another victory lap. And he does hold the fastest lap of the race. plenty of time. Can afford 6 seconds. He can back off a couple of seconds. I don't think anyone's going to beat that fastest lap time. Half a lap to go. See Mersey Blue off in the distance there, just heading onto that last hairpin. Bit of aquaplane. Ooh, bit of oversteer. And a bit of lag by the looks of things as well. Not sure if that was a quick car reset, I'm not sure. It's not highly looked upon for car resets. And here he is, our race winner, flashing the lights. Well done, Psychogency. Brilliant driving and another race victory for round 2 of the Ferrari series. Corby coming in for a podium finish on 2nd place. And Gallen, after not starting too strongly in the race, a brilliant recovery drive. He's pretty safe with taking a 3rd here. He's got it in the bag. 3rd position for Gallen. That will still keep some good points for him to try and keep his lead in the championship. Now Bertie coming up in 4th position. The current standings for the championship was Gallen 350, followed by Bertie 1035 and Weaven. And Weaven didn't make it tonight. Bertie in 4th, Mersey in 5th. Mersey has an opportunity to jump up into 3rd position potentially for the championship. He's done some great driving this round. Well done, Mersey Blue on a 5th. Mr. D-Train, he's in 6th. However, I think he will drop into 7th position. He has a 10-second penalty. Azuro needs to keep that distance between him. 20 seconds remaining. Oh no, Azuro's gone a little bit slow. I'm getting weird time things here. And there we are, we've had it. I think Azuro may have just moved up ahead of Mr. D-Train. Yes, he did. So he's stolen 6th position away from D-Train by way of the 10-second penalty. So we have Psychogency taking another race win tonight, with also claiming the fastest lap of 538. Also on the podium is Corby 387 taking 2nd position, Gallen 350 in 3rd, followed by Bertie in 4th, Mersey Blue in 5th, Zero in 6th, D-Train in 7th, Vert Wheeler in 8th, I'm the 45 in 9th, and Skiddy in 10th. It was a very exciting race to watch. So next week we have, for the Ferrari Series 488 Challenge, we shall bring up the race schedule. We are head off to Sonoma Raceway GP for round 3. So it starts at the same time, 7:30 PM is the broadcast. That's Australian Eastern Standard Time. If you want to get involved in our racing, you can actually head over into our Facebook page. You can also then click the group and request to join. That has all our event details. You can get involved, register your cars, get on the invite list, and join us for the race and streams. Otherwise, you can just check out our Facebook page, and all our results and incident reports go on there, and you can keep an eye on your favourite drivers. Be sure to hit that follow button so you can catch our other streams. Head over to our YouTube channel as well. We upload all our broadcasts over to there after the races, as Twitch doesn't keep them. But we would be very appreciative if you can actually hit that follow button. We're trying to grow our channel up to the 50 mark, our next milestone, so it'd be much appreciated if you can. And thanks for joining in for the stream, and hopefully see you trackside next week.